print and keep and read every day the poem If by Rudyard Kipling. I have yet to find a more consolidated advice on how to deal with failure and also the makeup of a balanced man or woman. He wrote that poem, I believe, to his son, who had posthumously, because his son had passed in war, in one of the world wars, and it was the poem he wished could have read to his son. So, but it's so good because he talks about what it really means to be balanced and successful in life, and it's so articulate about the ability to watch something you've built broken and build it up with worn out tools. That's one of the lines. And for me, I read it all the time because there's always a challenge. You realize that we tend to make molehills into mountains. One of the big questions I asked myself, and I wish I could quote the right author here. I think it was Blanchard, but the book was called Success Principles. And it's a tome filled with really good principles. But there's one chapter I read on developing a personal mission statement. But he gave a simple formula to do that. He said, the first question you ask yourself are what are different two qualities or two strengths that you possess that are fairly unique to you? And then the second question was, how do you enjoy using those qualities in service of others, right? How do you enjoy using those strengths? And then the third is to imagine a world that's a little bit more perfect than it is now in terms of how people interact and engage. And I finally landed on a mission that to this day I still lean into, and that's to use my charisma and creativity to help others realize that they can have a greater impact in this world. Sales is truly, when done correctly, such a noble profession to have because it requires an education and emotional intelligence to be successful at it, right? Sales is about not just a transference of emotion and your conviction becoming someone else's, but sales is really just about building relationships. And I feel that someone who's well-equipped in emotional intelligence, you could say that same person's well-equipped in sales. They have an ability to build relationships and trust with people quickly. And that includes the ability to listen and ask good questions, to be able to speak and be aware of how your words impact others. And so to be selective in your word choice in terms of influencing others. And then there's the self-awareness component, which is that you can't do any of what we just said if you're not good at managing your own emotions first, because your emotions tend to control your word choice. I think psychology relative to human history is still a very new topic. That's what I'm coming to realize. And as much as there's studies that a lot of the books we really enjoy, they quote a lot of scientific studies. We starting to find out more and more that some of those studies were not great studies, that were done 100 years ago. As we talk about emotional intelligence and other things, we're built on the rule of 21 days. And while repetition does play a role, he said a much more important facet that we've recently learned is it actually is important to feel really good about the thing you're doing for the first time. And so it's actually healthier to set lower minimum goals because how you feel matters. Because if they start to associate good with that behavior, at the end of the day, we're all grown up babies, and that still works. If we associate good with something, we want to do more of that, right?
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. To stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and Twitter at Catalyst_Action. Thanks for listening.